Maya's hands trembled as she stared at the tiny 2 lines on the test stick. Positive. Her heart raced with a mixture of fear, disbelief, and a strange, unnameable joy. She had always dreamed of being a mother someday, but she hadn't expected it so soon, and certainly not with the man she thought loved her. Adrian, she could see his face clearly in her mind, the easy smile, the soft brown eyes that made her feel safe, the way he would brush her hair back and whisper that everything would be all right. She wanted to share the news to see that same tenderness reflected in his eyes. But when she told him, the room seemed to shrink around her. His smile faltered. His eyes, once warm and inviting, grew cold, calculating. We can't do this, Maya," he said slowly, carefully, as if choosing his words from a script he'd memorized. "You know how complicated this is. You're not ready, I'm not ready, and my family, they'll never accept it." Maya's throat tightened and a surge of panic rose in her chest. "What do you mean, Adrian? It's our baby. We can make it work. We love each other. Love doesn't pay bills, Maya. Love doesn't guarantee a future." He interrupted, his voice flat, distant. "They told me, my parents, they said maybe you should consider an abortion." The word hit her like a blade. Abort, just hearing it made her stomach twist. She could feel tears pricking at the corners of her eyes, but she clenched her jaw and swallowed hard. She wouldn't cry, not here, not in front of them. Maya took a step back. I can't do that," she whispered, her voice shaking despite her efforts to sound steady. "This is my child, our child. I won't let you or them decide this for me." Adrian's face darkened, his hands, once gentle and reassuring, now twitched with irritation. "Maya, you're being selfish. Think about your career. Think about your life. Think about how my family will see this. They've been clear this will ruin everything." It wasn't just Adrian anymore. His parents were there, sitting with arms crossed, eyes sharp and judgmental. Their disapproval cut deeper than any words could. Maya had always hoped to be welcomed into this family, to be seen as part of something bigger. But instead, they treated her like a problem to be solved. Her heart ached, but she forced herself to breathe. She needed to stay calm, to think, to survive. She smiled, a thin, controlled smile that masked the storm inside her. "Maybe I misunderstood," she said softly, keeping her voice steady. "Maybe you all think this is about convenience, about appearances, but this is about life, my child's life, and I'm not afraid to protect it." The room fell silent, and Maya could feel the tension stretching taut like a wire ready to snap. Adrian's mother leaned forward, voice dripping with false concern. "Maya, you're being dramatic. We just want what's best for everyone. You're too young. This isn't the right time. Please think about what you're doing." Maya's hands clenched into fists at her sides. The sting of betrayal was overwhelming. She had trusted them, trusted Adrian, and now they all saw her dreams and hopes as inconvenient, disposable. She forced herself to stand taller. Her voice, when she spoke again, was quiet but unwavering. "I hear you, but your opinion doesn't decide my child's fate. I will make my own choices, and I will make them with love, not fear." Without another word, Maya turned and walked to the door. She didn't look back. Her steps were steady, deliberate. Each one a small rebellion against the people who had tried to break her. Her heart was heavy, yes, but beneath the weight was a spark, a flicker of determination. As she closed the door behind her, she wiped away the single tear that had slipped free, holding back the rest. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her broken. Not now, not ever. Something inside her had shifted. She wasn't just a victim of betrayal anymore. She was beginning to understand that the pain, the rejection, the heartbreak, they would all become tools. Tools she could wield when the time came. And one day, she promised herself, they would see her rise. After leaving Adrian and his family, Maya felt as though the air had been sucked out of her life. The betrayal lingered like a shadow, clinging to her every thought. For days, she wandered through her apartment, staring at the walls, feeling the emptiness that had replaced the warmth of trust. But beneath that emptiness, a small ember of resolve glowed. She refused to let them break her. Maya's first step was distance. She needed space from the suffocating opinions and manipulations, so she moved into a modest apartment in the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. The walls were bare, the rooms quiet, and for the first time in weeks, she could breathe without judgment pressing down on her. She kept her pregnancy a secret. Every doctor's visit, every new craving or sudden wave of exhaustion was hidden behind closed doors. Friends were told she was busy with work or simply under stress. She refused to let anyone else dictate her choices, not Adrian, not his family, not anyone. In the solitude, Maya began to rebuild herself. She poured herself into her career, working longer hours, taking on projects that challenged her. She reconnected with old friends who reminded her of her worth. She exercised, read, learned new skills, anything that reinforced that she was capable, independent, untouchable. But resilience alone wasn't enough. Maya knew she needed leverage. Her mind kept returning to Adrian's family, to their arrogance, their smug certainty that she would fold. She remembered small details, hidden accounts, unexplained financial transfers, whispers of shady deals. She had always been careful, but now every memory became a potential key, a possible tool for her eventual revenge. One evening, as she sifted through old emails and receipts, she noticed an unfamiliar envelope slipped under her door. Curious, she opened it carefully. Inside was a thick folder, marked with her name in elegant handwriting, containing documents she hadn't seen before, proof of lies, fraudulent deals, even some personal transgressions of Adrian's family. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. She could see the power they contained. Not reckless power, not childish revenge, but calculated, undeniable leverage. Maya's pulse quickened. Finally, she had the means to reclaim control, to turn their cruelty back on them. Maya spent weeks studying the documents, cross-referencing, making notes, understanding the breadth of what she held. She also researched carefully how to use this information legally, so that every move would be precise, undeniable, and devastating. She couldn't afford mistakes. She wouldn't risk letting them slip away unpunished. During this time, Maya's pregnancy progressed. She felt her child moving, tiny kicks that reminded her daily of what she was protecting. The child became her silent partner, her reason to endure, her shield against despair. Every pang of hunger, every wave of fatigue, every late-night anxiety attack became fuel for her determination. She was no longer just surviving. She was planning, calculating, becoming unstoppable. Maya also practiced patience. She returned occasionally to social settings, work dinners, casual encounters, appearing composed, friendly, almost naive. She listened, observed, and collected more information. Each interaction with mutual acquaintances and minor business associates became another piece in the puzzle. They underestimated her because they thought she was broken. They had no idea she was watching, waiting, preparing. By the time her second trimester arrived, Maya felt transformed. The fragile girl who had walked out of Adrian's family home was gone. In her place stood a woman who had endured betrayal, who had nurtured a life inside her despite being told to destroy it, and who had discovered the truth that would one day bring those who had hurt her to their knees. One night, she sat by her window, the city lights glittering below. She placed a hand on her belly, smiling softly as she whispered promises she couldn't yet share with anyone. She would protect her child, she would rise, and she would make them understand what it meant to be underestimated. For now she remained silent, patient, invisible to those who thought they had won, but the fire inside her had grown too strong to ignore. One day soon, they would beg for mercy, and she would give none. Maya had spent months hiding, healing, and plotting. Every day she carried the weight of betrayal in her chest, but it no longer crushed her. It fueled her. The thick folder she had received weeks ago sat on her desk like a silent weapon, waiting for the perfect moment. She had studied it endlessly, memorized every detail, understood the weaknesses and secrets it contained. And now she knew the time was coming to act. She dressed carefully that morning, choosing a tailored blazer and heels that made her feel untouchable. Confidence wasn't just an attitude, it was a tool, and Maya wielded it like a blade. She looked in the mirror and saw not the hurt girl who had cried herself to sleep months ago, but a woman who had risen from ashes, sharp, focused, and unstoppable. The first step was subtlety. She reached out to old acquaintances of Adrian's family, casual and friendly, as if nothing had changed. Every conversation was measured, a compliment here, a question there, a slight probing remark about a rumor she had heard. Each interaction was a thread she carefully spun, weaving a web that would soon entangle them all. She also started attending events where she knew the family would be present, gala dinners, charity functions, business mixers. She smiled, laughed, and appeared charming, the perfect image of a successful, composed woman. But behind her warmth was a mind calculating every move, remembering every misstep, every lie, every slight they had thrown at her. She was no longer the woman they had dismissed. She was a storm in disguise. At the same time, Maya strengthened her legal position. She met with a trusted lawyer who helped her understand the full extent of the evidence she possessed. Fraud, embezzlement, personal lies, business cover-ups, everything was documented and undeniable. She learned how to leverage it without putting herself at risk, how to ensure that when the time came, there would be no escape for them. But she didn't rush. Revenge required patience. Every false smile she gave Adrian's mother at a charity event, every casual chat with Adrian's associates, every nod and polite laugh was part of a larger strategy. They would never see it coming. They thought they had one when they had dismissed her months ago. Now she had the power to rewrite the rules. And then there was Adrian. She didn't seek him out, not yet. But she watched from a distance, noting his arrogance, the way he carried himself, the way he still underestimated her. It stung, yes, but it also gave her clarity. His pride would be his downfall. He had assumed she was powerless. He had assumed she would obey. How sweet it would be to prove him wrong. One evening, Maya sat at her desk, flipping through the documents again. The folder had become a second skin, every page a reminder of betrayal, and every line a map to justice. She ran her finger over a particular set of bank statements and contracts that revealed the family's hidden manipulations. A cold, triumphant smile spread across her face. This was it, the moment she had been preparing for. Her phone buzzed. A text from an anonymous source confirming her suspicions about a particular financial maneuver Adrian's father had tried to hide. Maya's heartbeat quickened. The web was complete. She could strike anywhere, anytime, and there would be no denying the evidence. She leaned back in her chair, hands resting lightly on the folder, and felt the satisfaction of control. She would confront them in their own arena, in the places they felt safe, and dismantle their arrogance piece by piece. They would beg for mercy. They would tremble before her, and then she thought of her child growing quietly inside her, unaware of the battle being waged in the world outside. That small life was the anchor of her resolve. She would protect it, nurture it, and let it be a testament to her strength. Finally, she whispered to herself, a soft but firm promise. They told me I couldn't. They told me I would fall. But I am stronger than their cruelty, and when the time comes, they will see me rise, and they will regret ever underestimating me. Maya closed the folder, carefully placing it into a sleek leather case. The storm was ready. The moment of reckoning was near. All that remained was to pull back the curtain and let the world see what betrayal had forged. a woman who would not bow, who would not break, and who would leave her enemies begging for mercy. The room was silent when Maya walked in. Every step was measured, confident, deliberate. Adrian and his parents sat around the polished mahogany table, faces a mixture of surprise and smug expectation. They had assumed she would come crawling back, that time and circumstance would break her resolve. They were wrong. Maya's hand rested lightly on the sleek leather case beside her. Inside was the weapon she had carefully prepared, the document that held their secrets, their lies, their manipulations, every hidden act of greed and betrayal laid bare. It wasn't just paper. It was justice, and it was hers to wield. Adrian cleared his throat, attempting casual authority. "Maya, I didn't expect." She cut him off with a calm, almost cold smile. "You expected me to be broken, to follow your instructions, to vanish quietly like a problem solved, but I'm here to show you how wrong you were." His mother's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Maya opened the case slowly, letting the suspense hang in the air like a tangible thing. She pulled out the thick folder, flipping it open to reveal page after page of evidence. Bank statements, contracts, emails, photographs, all proving the family's hidden manipulations, their unethical business practices, and the lies they had told to control her and protect their image. Adrian leaned forward, a flicker of worry crossing his face. "Maya, you can't, and I can," she said softly, each word deliberate. "And I will. If I wanted, I could make sure the world knows everything. The fraud, the deception, the schemes you worked so hard to hide. Your reputation, your careers, everything would crumble. And you would deserve every consequence." His father's face paled. "You wouldn't dare." Maya's lips curled into a small, victorious smile. "I don't need to dare. I only need to show you that I can." She leaned back slightly, letting the weight of her presence fill the room. "Do you remember the day you told me to abort? Do you remember how you tried to erase me, how you tried to control my life and destroy the one thing I hold most sacred?" Adrian swallowed hard. His confidence, once unshakable, was cracking. "Maya, please, it wasn't like that. You told me to destroy my child because it was inconvenient. You judged me, humiliated me, tried to strip away my power, and yet..." She paused, placing a gentle hand over her belly. "Here I am. My child is safe, and you..." She let her eyes sweep the room, calm and piercing, seeing their fear reflected back at her. "You're the ones exposed. You're the ones who underestimated me, and now you're begging for mercy before the consequences even touch you." Her words hung in the air like a storm. Tears glistened in Adrian's mother's eyes, not from sadness, but from the bitter recognition of defeat. Adrian's shoulders slumped. He had been arrogant, cruel, and he realized too late that he had misjudged the woman he once loved. You can't do this," Adrian stammered, voice trembling. "I already have," Maya said, voice steady. "By surviving, by rising, by refusing to let your cruelty define me. The document is proof of your lies, yes, but my strength, my choices, my life, these are the true victories." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, finally, Adrian's father bowed his head slightly, a silent acknowledgement of defeat. The tension in the room shifted. Maya's calm authority left no room for negotiation, no room for escape. They had underestimated her, and that had been their greatest mistake. Maya closed the folder carefully, the soft click echoing like a gavel of judgment. She stood tall, her hand lingering over her child, the life they had all tried to erase. "I came here broken once. You tried to make me smaller, weaker, dependent. But look at me now. I am whole, I am powerful, and I am free." Without another word, she turned, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, each step a declaration of triumph. She didn't need to shout, she didn't need to gloat. The fear, the regret, the shame. They would follow her out of the room, lingering like shadows that could never catch her. As she reached the door, she looked over her shoulder one last time. Adrian, his parents, their faces etched with disbelief and humiliation, were nothing but echoes of the past. Maya smiled softly, tears of quiet joy slipping down her cheeks, not for the pain they caused, but for the life she had preserved, the strength she had claimed, and the justice she had earned. She walked into the sunlight outside, the city stretching endlessly before her. Her heart was light, her spirit unbroken, and her future, her child's future, untouchable. This was victory, this was freedom, this was the power of a woman who refused to be erased, and she had only just begun.